It was a bit devastating for my wife and small family to think that at this point we had sold everything that we had. We were hoping to get accommodation here at BYU, and unfortunately there was nothing for us. We prayed about it, and we had faith and hope that something will come up, because we have always believed in miracles. My name is Sidney Sithole. I'm a PhD student in the biologist lab. I study viral genetics. Currently we are working on HIV genetics, looking at how we can make it better for people who are infected with HIV. So I'm from Zimbabwe originally. That part of the world, we have a lot of issues with many different diseases, and HIV happens to be one of the leading causes of death. For me, that was a main drive. In my own small way, I thought I could contribute by getting into research. I got accepted at BYU in April. It was an exciting moment for me and my family, and we immediately applied for accommodation. We sort of took it for granted because as international students, we thought it was going to be almost automatic that we'll get into housing. Most of our plans were around just getting supplies that we would use when we get to BYU, and just preparing other documents, and we did not worry much about accommodation. We thought that was going to be an obvious one. In our country, in Zimbabwe, is such that when international students come in, they get sort of priority in terms of housing because they don't know their way around the country. And so as days drew closer, we realized that we might actually not get accommodation. And so during that short time, I communicated with the program coordinator, and I told my story to her, and fortunately she was able to reach out to the department to ask if there was someone who could house us during that process. And just a few days before our flight, we were fortunate to hear from one of the professors.
So we were off on study abroad, and I got an email. We had a new graduate student coming who we'd accepted from Zimbabwe, and he was coming with his wife and 2 children. And so this email went out saying that they needed the place to live because despite having applied all the way back in April when they were first accepted, they weren't able to get into BYU housing.
It was a long flight, actually 3 long flights from Zimbabwe to Provo. It was exciting, but it was also quite frightening at the same time. We had no idea what to expect. These were really kind, nice families that took us in. We started communicating with them when we were still back home in Zimbabwe, when we realized that we weren't going to be able to secure accommodation before we left. And they made us so comfortable in their homes. And I think we stayed with the one professor. It must have been 2 or 3 weeks, but that was in Linden, Utah. So another professor who lives here in Provo then said, we'll take them in, and they took us in.
We were happy. Again, we were nervous. You know, it's for more than maybe 8-10 years, we had never stayed with, in someone's home. We had been independent, and to convince my family that everything will be okay, and that we will get accommodation eventually. It was a difficult time.
And I know Scott Weber, the few weeks that they lived with him, Scott took them around and really kind of helped them establish things and get a bank account and maybe a cell phone and really kind of figure out some of that. So Scott did the nitty gritty. I got to do the fun stuff, exposing them culturally to what it was to be in the U.S. and in Provo. Housing and not being able to set it up before you come, it's a tremendous leap of faith for Sidney and Samantha to come.
I loved showing them new things. I remember one day I took Samantha and the children to the Provo Library and showed them, this is where they do story time. These are all the books you can get. I did feel like as a wife and mother, this is not ideal, but I just felt like for them to have the best situation, they need to have their own place.
In October, that's when we then found out that we had found accommodation.
when the accommodation office sent the message, I'm the one who actually saw it first. And I just started calling him over and over and saying, hey, you've got to respond to this. I was elated. I was really happy.
Samantha did make a comment once they found out they were going to be moving on campus, that something to the effect of like, she felt like it was necessary to live with us or helpful or something like that because they learned how to do America by living with us. God was definitely played a hand in their whole story and bringing them here and inspiring us to do certain things and to help being able to love them and learn from them, from their amazing story of perseverance and living by the Spirit.
Here's Sidney with his family in the midst of uncertainty, but just having tremendous faith that everything will work out. And so it's an inspiration to me. I have pretty good circumstances here, and I've been very blessed. But to see that attitude of, oh, I'm coming to America, I'm bringing my family, and everything will be fine because I'm doing what's right. Well, if you're doing what's right, the Lord is going to bless you and not let you make decisions that are incorrect.
I was able to see the hand of the Lord and see miracles in the whole process. And now we laugh about it when we talk about our experience. And it's easy to look back and see that, oh, this is what the Lord wanted us to learn, or this is what we were supposed to experience. We met and we've made friendships with two professors that helped us with accommodation, that I think will last a lifetime. Not only are they professors focused on academics, but they do care. They want to help us to succeed. And so for anyone who is also planning to come, I think that's going to be one of your biggest shocks as well, to realize that this is an institution that will help you to thrive in areas of your life. And they were equally concerned as I was about my accommodation. For that, I really appreciate.